Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today I want to share with you 10 items that I won't be buying in 2021. And every year, something that I like to do is just go through a process and a time where I can look back and reflect on the previous year and then plan ahead and look forward at what I want my next year to look like. And as I've been doing that over the past few weeks, I've identified several items that I want to try not to buy over the next 12 months. And these are all things that I either have enough of already and just want to keep the amount that I currently have, or they're things that I've wasted money on in the past and thus want to challenge myself not to buy any more of. And this is actually something that I did last year too, and I just found it to be a really helpful process and goal to stick to. So it's something that I'm wanting to do in 2021 as well. So like I said, I have 10 things that I am not going to be buying this year that I want to share with you, but then be sure to stick around to the end where I kind of recap my no buy items from last year and share how I did and where I succeeded as well as maybe fell short from a few of my goals. So that's the plan for today. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button below. But now let's jump right in. All right, the first thing that I will not be buying in 2021 is books. And I realize as I say this that this is going to be an incredibly challenging one for me because the truth is I love books. For the past several years, I've read at least 12 books a year, and I'm hoping to do the same thing next year as well. But that being said, there are quite a few books in my collection that I haven't actually read yet. And so this year, rather than going out and buying new books when I want to add to my reading list, I want to challenge myself to read the books that I already have first. And then of course, borrowing books from the library is another fantastic option too. And so that's kind of where I want to direct my reading attention and efforts this year. Nothing wrong at all with buying books, but I do want to challenge myself to read the ones that I have, and then also just to take advantage of free resources that are available to me too. All right, the second thing that I will not be purchasing in 2021 is cable TV. For the past several years, I've lived in apartments where I am contractually required to pay for cable TV, even though the only times we actually use it are when Christopher and I watch football on Sunday afternoons. Next year, though, we are going to have that contractual obligation to purchase cable TV removed, and we're really excited to be able to have one less subscription to pay for each month. Since we only really use it a few days a year, it really doesn't make financial sense for us to pay for cable, especially since we do already pay for other subscription services like Amazon Prime or Disney Plus. And since we use those other services a whole lot more than we do our cable, it's something that we've decided that in 2021 we just want to stop paying for. Next up, number 3 is cheaply made furniture. And I'll be honest, right now, this one might be a little bit of a challenge, especially since Christopher really struggles to pay any more than probably $200 for a furniture item. But that being said, as we're getting older, we are really looking to kind of invest in furniture pieces that we're going to be able to have for years to come. A lot of the furniture that we have right now is fairly cheaply made, and we bought it because when we first got married it was affordable, and that really was all that we could afford. But fast forward a few years from when we first bought that furniture to now, and several of the pieces that we have are slowly beginning to fall apart on us. And so as we're slowly looking to replace some of the furniture that is wearing out on us, something that I really want to do is to begin slowly investing in higher quality furniture that can actually last for us and isn't just going to fall apart in 3 years' time. So this might be one that we need Christopher's help getting on board with a bit, and we do make all of our big financial decisions as a couple, so it's really important. But as we enter 2021 and need to replace a handful of furniture pieces, buying quality pieces that are meant to last is really something that I want to just try to do more of. So in 2020, plants was something that I wanted to refrain from buying, but in 2021, we're going to be dropping the L. I don't want to buy any pants in 2021. Over the past year, I believe I added 3 new pairs of pants to my pants collection and got rid of one, bringing the total of pants I own to 6. 6 pairs is absolutely plenty for me, and in reality, I could probably get by with even fewer. And this is one that from a practical standpoint too, just makes sense. If you have a few different pairs of pants, that's really all you need. When people look at what you're wearing, they don't actually pay attention to your pants 99% of the time. If you change out your shirt, you can wear the exact same pair of pants for multiple days in a row and nobody's going to notice. So this next year, I plan to be a proud pants repeater, and I'm totally okay with that. Moving on, the fifth thing that I won't be buying in 2021 is any kind of detox foods or cleanses. And I definitely have fallen into detox crazes in the past. I've done liver cleanses and things like that. But in reality, there is very little evidence that detoxes and cleanses actually work or eliminate toxins from the body. Instead, what I found is that when I kind of go down that rabbit trail, it really leads me to unnecessary restrictions and developing an unhealthy mindset around the food that I'm eating. So this year, my goal is just going to be to focus on buying healthy, whole foods rather than wasting my money on detoxes and cleanses that probably don't work and also aren't helping me develop a healthy mindset around the food that I'm eating. Okay, number 6 is one that we will be carrying over from 2020, and that's because it's still really applicable to my life. In 2021, I want to refrain from buying art supplies. So last year, when I added this one to the list, I put it on because I had a massive surplus of art supplies, and rather than going out and trying the latest fad of various crafts or art mediums, I wanted to focus on using the supplies that I already had and that were kind of collecting dust in my art cabinet. And the great thing is, in the past 12 months, I really have been able to use and make the most of a lot of the art supplies I have. I picked up my watercoloring supplies that I'd had for years and never used, and really got into watercoloring over the course of the year, and I was able to use up a lot of my embroidery supplies too. But the thing is, even after a full year of using up what I already have, I still have more that I can use. So I think it's still really relevant for me to keep this one on as a goal for 2021 of things that I don't want to buy. Now granted, since this one is a bit more of an ongoing challenge, there might be a few things that I run out of over the course of the year, and so if I do, I will give myself the grace to be able to replace things that run out. However, I do definitely want to keep to that general goal of focusing on using what I already have rather than buying more stuff and letting stuff that I already have go to waste. Alright, we've come now to number 7, and personally I think this one might be the hardest one for me, and that is pottery mugs. I will be the first to own up to the fact that I am a huge sucker for pottery mugs. I love them. I especially love buying locally made ones at art fairs and things like that. However, I have come to terms with the fact that currently I have definitely as many as I need and potentially more than I realistically need, despite the fact that I do use and love all of the ones that I have. But because of that, I think it is time to put a ban on the buying of more mugs for the time being. I'm a big fan of appreciating what you already have, and I think it's time for me to do more of that when it comes to my mugs and being able to be content with and feel good about having enough. Okay, 8 is definitely more of a practical one, and that is excess freezer food. While in the past year I've gotten better at making sure that the food that I have in the fridge isn't going to waste, the same can't necessarily be said of food in my freezer. In the past year, there have been quite a few times where I've opened up our freezer and found it jam-packed with food, most of which had been sitting there for several months. And while freezers are great because they can extend the life of your food for several months, that doesn't mean that we should use it as an excuse to accumulate excess. Over time, food does eventually go bad even in the freezer, and it can accumulate freezer burn too, which just makes it unenjoyable to eat whatever food you have in there. And this is something that I've been reminded of the hard way this past year. So going into 2021, my goal is going to be to keep food in our freezer for no more than a month. Alright, number 9 is that I don't want to purchase any cleaning supplies next year. And if you've watched any of my recent cleaning routines or videos, you'll know that in the past few months I've become obsessed with Infuse's cleaning products. And the cool thing about them is that when one of their products runs out, rather than having to go out and buy a whole new product, you can actually just get a simple small refill cartridge that you can stick into the bottle and have a whole new cleaning product ready to go for you. And I've been using them for a few months now and absolutely love them. Not only is it a great cheaper alternative to non-toxic cleaning products, but it's also more sustainable too. So that's the goal, and for the most part, I think we should be able to refrain from buying new cleaning products. The one exception to that I can think of off the top of my head might be toilet bowl cleaner. I want to say that we're running low on ours currently, and Infuse doesn't currently make one that's refillable, so we might need to go out and purchase one of those. But other than that, I think that this one should be a pretty doable goal for us. And then finally, number 10 is specialized kitchen gadgets. And I will say in the past few months I did buy one super specialized kitchen gadget, and that is a citrus press. It is a fairly well single-use item. You can only use it to squeeze lemons, limes, and oranges. However, I like having citrus in a lot of my waters and things like that, and so it just kind of made sense for me to buy one. But that being said, even though I don't regret that purchase at all and do use mine quite regularly, on the whole, I generally like to avoid buying specialized kitchen gadgets. And so in 2021, it's going to be something that I'm going to be adding to my no-buy list. So that's it. Those are the 10 items that I won't be buying in 2021. But now I want to take a quick look back and see how we did for 2020. So in 2020, the 10 things that I said that I didn't want to buy were clothing that was outside of my comfort zone, cheaply made shoes, plants, any additional subscription services, art supplies, board games, excess food, mass-produced art, chemical-filled cleaning products, and smart home tech. And looking back at this list, I can truthfully say that we did a great job of really adhering to it and not buying things that I didn't need or that weren't replacing things that ran out. But that being said, there were a handful of exceptions to this one, and so I wanted to talk about them here. So as far as plants go, I only bought one plant over the course of the entire year, and that was a fiddly fig. And the only reason why I actually got it was I had another fiddly fig that was my very favorite plant. You might have seen it on my bedside table in the past, but it died when I went to Canada for my sister's wedding over the summer, and so I wanted to buy a replacement for it just because it was my very favorite plant that I own. So I'm really not going to fault myself for that one, and it didn't add any additional clutter to my life. And then quickly, there are just two other areas where I felt like I did fall just a little bit short. And the first one was art supplies. In my 2020 video, I believe I shared that even if I ran out of certain art supplies, I didn't want to go out and buy any additional ones so that I could use up what I already had. However, as I was working on one of my embroidery projects this year, I ran out of a specific color of thread that I needed in order to finish the project. So I actually went out to the craft store and bought not only the thread color that I needed to finish the project, but also a few additional ones too. So while I'm not going to count buying the embroidery thread that I needed to finish the project against me, I will say that I did waste a few dollars on embroidery thread that realistically was not necessary to finish the project. And then the final area where I fell just a bit short of the goal was with board games. I will say I was not technically the person to buy this one, and Christopher used his birthday money to get it, but we did get Monopoly Deal over the course of the year, thus adding one extra, I guess it's more of a card game than a board game, but one extra game to our life. But on the whole, I would say that apart from a handful of small mistakes or learning opportunities, we really did a fantastic job of sticking to the goals that we set, and it makes me really excited to see what it's going to turn out like with my current goals that I have for 2021. But before we close this video out, I'm really interested to hear, were there any items that you decided not to buy in 2020, and how did that go? Or are there any items that you want to try not to buy in 2021? Let me know all about that in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. And remember that if you enjoyed today's video and haven't subscribed already, you can just hit that subscribe button below for more simple and intentional living videos coming at you twice a week. And of course, if you're on Instagram, make sure you're following me there too. I love sharing daily inspiration and updates, as well as chatting with you guys on there. That's everything for today's video though. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.